marvelous. Good. I think I think it's working. So let's.
Yeah, I had to agree something that it is live now.
Oh, you've just had to agree that you're live. Great.
Yeah. Yes. So I guess it's working.
Good. So let's unblock the security, and people can join us. Looks like Liam has disappeared. Oh,
Yeah.
he's back.
Ah, he's here again.
You're back.
Hello.
Great. We are gathering.
Hello, everybody.
Great stuff.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
It's all very exciting trying to get the technology working. I find it so stressful to get the technology working. I need somebody younger than me, I think. Probably somebody like Jens. Jens, next time, can you do the technology bit for me?
Of course I can. I'm way more than you.
You shouldn't leave a sort of a grown-up job to an old guy like me.
Well, I'm having lunch, so I'm having to switch off my camera.
Well, you're multitasking.
Yeah, I'll be joining you.
Which is great. Well, welcome everyone who is joining us. We're just sort of gathering. We've got about another minute or so before we're supposed to be going live. There are a few people that are with us without cameras on, and that's fine. You don't have to join us if you don't want to. So I'm Sean, sitting here in London. Great to have you all here. We'll probably do this twice, but why not just begin to do some introductions? In fact, I'm going to get Jens to introduce himself because he's the person that's kind of closest to me, my partner in crime. Jens, introduce yourself. You're on mute.
Yeah, so this is happening to me. Yeah, hello everyone. Sitting in Germany, doing serious work in Germany for Sean, for me, and training people in Lego serious play method and yeah, I usually sit on the side of Sean doing this in Germany, and I'm happy to join this time as a participant.
There's also worth saying that Jens was sort of my buddy in writing this book. In fact, that's the English one. We've got the German one up here. Where is it? This one here. So Jens helped write this book, How to Do Lego Serious Play Online. Liam, we'll probably do this twice, but just for the people who are here, why don't you just sort of say who you are and where you are?
Yeah, sure. My name's Liam. I'm a teacher and head of digital learning in Singapore. I teach at an international school here. I'm relatively new to the Lego Serious Play process. I did my training maybe a year ago with you, Sean, was it now? Maybe yeah. 8 months, 9 months, something like that. And yeah, just been enjoying experimenting with it really in a school context. I teach 11 to 18-year-olds here in Singapore. And yeah, we've had some real fun and traction using it in the college, and yeah, happy to share and keep building on what we started, really.
Wonderful. Marina, please introduce yourself to us, our second speaker for today.
Hello, my name is Marina, and I am a research worker at the Technical University of Applied Sciences in Germany, in Bavaria, in Amberg-Weiden. And we use Lego Serious Play with companies, with society, but of course also with our students. And we really love to do that. And our students love it too.
Great. Well, we've got, those are our two formal speakers for today. My job today is just to facilitate. I think we've also got Alan Wheeler has joined us. I think he might be joining us from the University of Middlesex. And Benjamin, another one of our graduates, I think he's here. So we might get Benjamin to share a couple of words. And I think Loretta might also be joining us, another one of our graduates. So let me just tell you about the format. We have a lovely sort of short format for this. It's just half an hour, and then we're going to do a 15-minute optional sort of networking. The topic we're going to explore today is how is Lego Serious Play used in schools, colleges, and universities? Very informal presentation. Well, we don't have any presentations. We're just going to have a chat. So I thought what I'd do is I'd ask Liam to briefly share a little bit of a story, and then I would ask Marina to share a little bit of a story, and then we can try to answer any questions that arise. Please put those in the chat window. Lovely to see you here, Dieter. Thank you for using the chat window. And then if any of you have got any other experiences you'd like to share, Benjamin or anyone else, please just chip in. So Liam, over to you. You wrote a fantastic blog post about using Lego Serious Play at the United World College in Singapore, particularly on the difficult issue of social media. Perhaps you'd just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Oh,
of course. So social media use is one of those things when traditionally, well, at least in our experiences, when you talk to students about their use of social media, they tend to become very guarded very quickly. I think it's one of those issues that students feel that teachers are trying to trap them on. So pretty fresh out of the training, we decided to use Lego Serious Play as a way of facilitating a focus group session with some of our middle school students. So we intentionally selected participants to take part from grade 6, 7, and 8. And then we got them together and we ran a 2-hour workshop with them to kind of unpack their relationship with social media. So it was very intentionally neutral. There was no kind of hidden agenda, and we were very transparent about that with the students. And essentially we went through the process, a fairly kind of traditional approach to the process. We engaged students in groups of 6. We split those groups into two groups of 3, and we asked one half to kind of model positive influences that social media have on their lives. We asked the other 3 to individually model kind of potentially negative influences that social media can have on their lives, and then we got them to build the shared model together using those kind of ingredients, if you like. And it was incredibly interesting. I think some of the benefits of the process really shone through. One of the things I wrote and shared with you previously was it was very interesting to see that the kids were able to use the process to talk about issues that were clearly issues that were relevant to them, but they weren't talking about them in the first person. So that ability to share through a model and the focus being on the model rather than the person allowed them to kind of decouple themselves from the ideas they were sharing. And as a result of that, it meant the actual ideas they were sharing were far richer, far more relevant, and far more kind of insightful than what I've experienced previously when we're trying to unpack issues like social media use with students. So I think I kind of turned it as like a veil of anonymity. They're able to share their personal experiences and ideas without being kind of hyper aware of the kind of status attributed to talking openly about things like social media. Students, teenagers are very status aware, and I think it was nice for them to be able to share ideas without feeling like they were reflections of themselves personally. So yeah, and as a result, we got really rich insights in terms of students' relationships with social media. We've been able to use that information in parent workshops and with students as follow-up sessions as well.
And I put a link to Liam's blog article in the chat window, so if you want to read more about that, please do. Thanks so much, Liam. Marina, tell us a little bit about how you've used, a happy story maybe, about how you've used Lego Serious Play in your technical college, your technical university.
Yes, of course. Well, we work with our students with Lego Serious Play, and first of all, I have to say that it is very easy to work with students because the head is full of creativity and they are really open to this method. And I guess one of my happiest story while coaching students was when I had a workshop with a lot of students from different nationalities. And they told me before that they have kind of difficulties language difficulties. So in ordinary project, they had problems to communicate and to express their feelings and ideas. So I was kind of curious, how can it work with Lego Serious Play? And it worked perfectly, let me tell you that, because when they were working with Lego Serious Play, it was very easy for them to create something with their hands, to build something, and to show the others their ideas, and to use very simple German words. And it was very delightful for me to see them brighten up during the lesson, because at the beginning they were really shy. They didn't want to speak, and they didn't want to talk to the others. But while using Lego Serious Play, while building, while constructing, they opened up immediately, and that was really great. And I guess that is one of the most perfect things of Lego Serious Play, that you can get shy people into the group. And that was something they told me afterwards. They came to me, and that was really great as a coach, because they came to me and said, this was great. Now I have the feeling that I can communicate better with the team, that I got to know my team better. And so I guess this is one of my most happiest experiences with Lego Serious Play, working with students.
Yeah, I mean, I find I haven't done much work in schools and universities, so I am absolutely not the expert. There are other people who know far more about that here than I do. But I do find that in the corporate setting, it's a wonderful way of making a meeting more democratic. It's a lovely way of flattening positional power. Benjamin, lovely to have you here from Newcastle, the place where I was made. I spent 10 years living on Tyneside. Any experiences that you'd like to share with us about use of the method in universities?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I fully agree with what Marina said, particularly in diverse group. I've used it with our MBA cohort, and our MBA students are typically, like, normally it's a cohort of 30 students from pretty much all over the world. And what I do in my the module I'm involved in, they normally do a group presentation, and in order to prepare the group work and get a sort of team spirit, I just do a Lego Serious Play session. I mean, for two reasons. And one is to show them the method and what this is about, what it's like. And then I do team building exercises, and I have them build the strength, weaknesses, and then things like where they can complement. And it's a theoretical underpinning. I use the Johari window with things you know about yourself and you don't know about yourself versus what others know about you and don't know about you. And then it's, at the end of the day, every time I've done it, was really this collective, wow moment when they said, oh, I didn't know you can do that. I had no idea that this is something you had done before. People finding out things about themselves and like, oh yeah, actually it makes sense. So and with regard to them working in the team on a graded presentation later on, the teams are completely random. So there's no strategy behind. So I just put them in different teams and they have to work together. And I find that when you do this exercise, you get a lot more engagement in that sense, and you have a higher cohesion in the group. So that's very helpful.
Yeah. Do you know, it's interesting. I ran a workshop for a mortgage company 2 weeks ago. The chief executive was really skeptical. In fact, he said to me, we're happy to use Lego Serious Play for the team build bit at the beginning, but I don't want to use it for the vision, the mission, and the strategy piece. I just don't think it's the right thing. And what was really interesting was that after we had done a little bit of the team build piece at the beginning of the day, all credit to him, even though he was a real skeptic, he said to his team, so team, what do you think? Should we carry on using this? And they elected to use it for creating their shared vision, which was really sort of heartening. So we're trying to explore how Lego Serious Play is used in schools, colleges, or universities. Are there any people here today with the cameras on or cameras off who have questions that we can try to put to some of our experts? If not, we could ask Gozia to share her experience with Chinese students. But let's just see whether there are any questions about the use of this methodology in schools, colleges, or universities, or any learning environment, really. Yes, we've got a hand up. Marwa, please.
Yes. Hello.
Please just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and where you are and what your question is.
I am Marwa Wasim. I'm from Egypt. And I do many other jobs. I used to be a project manager in banks and financial institutions. I teach project management, and I am into Lego Serious Play right now.
Yep.
And I'm very interested in introducing Lego series play or using it with teenagers, so schools and universities. I've done a couple of workshops, but with individuals who are from the age of 15 to 20, and it was very successful as well. And right now, I'm thinking about offering it also to younger students, but I'm not sure at what age would it be useful. I've tried it with my niece who's 13 and it worked well, but on one-on-one basis.
Yeah.
And now I don't know if I can have students at school that age, or should I start from later stages? 15 worked well, less than 15, I'm not sure.
Liam, what's the youngest student you've used this with? And what adaptations did you have to make to work with younger people?
Yeah, so we've used it throughout middle school age. So from grade 6 to 8, we run workshops. So that'd be 11 to 13-year-olds. And I think in terms of adaptations, I think there's probably more.
Oh, sorry, I muted you accidentally. Can you unmute yourself? There's just a bit of background noise.
Of course, no worries. I think you probably need to be a little bit more rigorous with that age group in terms of behavioral norms. I think one of the challenges we found with 11 to 13-year-olds is they come with less baggage to the sessions, so they're incredibly creative and engaged. You have no issue with that, but sometimes it's more difficult to keep them focused and on task. Some of the things that we've experimented with is things like periodic prompts throughout the process. So we've started to develop like cards essentially with some prompts on them that we kind of deliver to the tables every 10 or 15 minutes. And those prompts, we don't actually kind of announce what they are. We just drop them in front of one of the students, and one of the students, because they're that age, will pick it up, read it, and then share it with the rest of the group. And it will just help to give them a little bit more focus. One of the things that's really difficult with the younger you go in our experience is you need to either be creative and think of ways to kind of keep them on task if there's just one of you in the room, or you need more people in the room. And we've played around with both things. It tends to be a facilitator per table initially when we started it. Now we're devising more of those kind of card drop techniques and things like that help to keep people on task, even if you're not there to kind of normalize things like constant sharing and recapping. But yeah, we've used it with 11-year-olds and it's been incredibly successful. I think the difference is in the outcome, really. The outcomes are perhaps less mature, but then they're more reflective of the age groups you're using them with. The ideas are still very good and the thinking is still very good with those groups.
I've seen the cards that Liam has developed and they're fantastic. Actually, Liam, just a quick follow-up question is, do you think it would be possible to train 11, 12-year-olds to be table facilitators?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the big question that we're playing with at the moment is, do you need to train them? I think with a school environment, you have such limited time. Like at the moment, we're another thing we're trying to play around with is like micro sessions. Like I know this is probably kind of not exactly what Lego serious play is about when you read the kind of Lego source material, when they say it can't be done in a short micro time. But I think if you're looking to contextualize it for a school environment, I think you have to be creative with the way you apply it. And I think kids, I mean, you can leverage on what school students do very well, which is they take on roles all the time in classes. So I think if you're able to normalize the sense that they're going to take on the role as a kind of facilitator, and all it takes is a card and a couple of question prompts to allow them to do that, then it means you don't have to necessarily spend the time in kind of training every one of them up explicitly each time you want to use it with a group. I think as you use it increasingly with groups over a longer period of time, obviously you have then the advantage of being able to gradually upskill them and make them more and more better equipped to facilitate, just through almost osmosis, through using the strategy again and again.
Great. Mara, I'll come back to you in a moment. Let's just see whether there are any other questions. And I'd also just like to briefly welcome Alan Wheeler. Alan joins us from the University of Middlesex, and Alan's written a paper called Using Lego Serious Play in Higher Education with Law Students. So maybe, I don't know whether you'd be prepared to share anything about that, Alan. But just let's see whether any other questions first. Any other different questions? Okay, so Alan, maybe put you on the spot. Would you mind just sort of, thank you for joining us. I've got a copy of your paper.
Thank you for the invite.
No, it's great that you're here. And anything you'd like to say about using it with law students? I mean, Lego Serious Play in law, really?
Yeah, I use it with students all across the university. In fact,
Really?
yeah. So what happened? I was very lucky in that I'm in a library department that likes to try things, and I'm also very lucky in that I have a boss that likes to say yes to things. So when I actually did a day's training in Cambridge, going back a few years, I went back to the department and said, we need to buy some Lego immediately. And what I actually discovered was there was already some Lego in the library, but it wasn't being used.
Yeah.
So it was in a cupboard, unopened, astonishingly. So I played around for about 12 months, sort of picking up what I could from various YouTube tutorials and papers that I discovered. But then I went back to my boss and said, if we're going to do this properly, and I feel like I really know what I'm doing, I'd like to actually get trained. And the training was the big catalyst for me, in fact, because I could then go back to academics and say, look, here's a qualification.
Yeah.
And higher academic, HE academics do like to sometimes see a qualification before they'll let you loose on their students. So I've done this with students all across Middlesex. So I support law and I support natural science. But when it became clear, when I started to become known for that bloke that gets paid to play with Lego with students, which, you know, I'm very happy to own.
Yeah.
I then started getting emails from all sorts of departments that I'd never interacted with before at all. So I did sessions with nurses and translation students, nutritionists. Basically, when academics talk to each other, that's how these things tend to grow. So it's broadly, I do it with the rationale can vary greatly from group to group.
Yeah. Sometimes
it can be about assignments, sometimes it can be about dissertation planning, sometimes it can be about getting a group to actually talk to each other.
Yeah.
I've also now done it with staff on a number of occasions as well. So staff have actually, departments have brought me in to talk about, you know, some of the more strategic aspects of how their department is working or not working.
Fantastic. I put the title of Alan's paper in the chat window. You can buy it. It costs a few quid from, I can't remember which website you can buy it from, but if anybody of you want to read that, it's worth reading. Dieter, lovely to see you again. I saw you had your hand up. Hopefully you have a question for us.
Not a question. I have some examples that I could share also in the education environment, if that's of interest.
Please, yes, absolutely.
But I haven't done LSP in the last 2 years, but before I did many workshops, like with Adaptations in Boston, with MBA students for their startup projects, mostly about their target audience, to define the target audience.
Yep.
And actually once did like half of the students did it the conventional way with post-it notes, and the other half with Lego Serious Play, and Lego Serious Play was much, much faster and better in the quality of the outcome.
Really?
So it was really successful. Then also law students at NU Law Lab about career discovery. It was a really good workshop. So many smiles on the law students' faces. At SNHU, that was a really interesting workshop about the exploring of belonging. What does belonging mean? The Northeastern Gender and Social Policy, also an LSP workshop. At Emerson College here, value creation. And a really interesting was at Holy Cross. They're priests, so they're studying to be a priest, and the workshop was about knowing yourself. What's your role in the Christian community? That was really, I mean, I was a little bit hesitant to work with very religious people, but they just built the Lego models, and how do they see their role in the Christian community?
Wonderful.
So there are many great opportunities in education.
Actually, we've also got the very lovely Loretta has joined us from America, and Loretta uses Lego Serious Play specifically in the areas of dementia caregiving and aging.
Mm.
So it's a very kind of different environment. But Loretta, would you care to share an experience of using Lego Serious Play at that sort of demographic as opposed to the 11-year-olds that Liam has been working with?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. So my mom was diagnosed with dementia 15 years ago, and we had been two people who were connected through Lego, you know, almost my entire life. And so when she got to the point where she no longer knew me, we discovered that she still remembered the Lego bricks. So whenever I got them out, she sort of came back to life. And if you know anything about dementia, they have that blank stare kind of thing. And the blank stare would go away and she would be my mom again. And so I thought if it worked out well with my mom, it could work with others. So I started working with caregivers to, you know, just a stress relief kind of thing. We were building joy that, you know, COVID had stolen from us and things like that. But with people with dementia, I also figured out that having them and their care partner build together old memories, favorite vacation. It has been phenomenal things that come out that their care partners thought they had long forgotten. And it's been just extraordinary this year in particular, working with folks in a memory cafe kind of thing where they build together. So it has been amazing watching others, but you know, in addition to my mother, be able to have such great experiences going back. You know, we had one case where mother, I had them build their favorite home. If you know anything about dementia folks, they always want to go home. That's their thing. And the mother was building the house she grew up in 1931, where the daughter was building the house she grew up in. So she was shocked. The daughter was shocked that her mother went all the way back to putting the right number of windows in and everything. And the daughter just burst into tears. So things she thought were long gone and her mom appeared. So it's been an extraordinary experience for me, with working with lots of people that have been sort of dismissed at this point, like they don't have anything else to offer. And that is certainly not true. And Lego has uncovered it. So it's been amazing.
What's the oldest person you've worked with, Loretta?
96. My mom's 92. And last week at a place called Sunrise Senior Living near my home, the resident was 96. And she and her niece and the niece's husband were building their favorite vacation, which was a cruise ship. And they were using the big blue clear Duplo piece as their windows on the cruise ship. But the cruise ship was extraordinary. And they were shocked at the fact that she remembered all the things they did on the cruise ship, and they danced and all that. So that was pretty amazing.
Wow, that's such a lovely story. I mean, and I love the range. You know, from 11 to 96. I mean, the idea that we can use this as an enhanced communication tool. Any further questions? We're sort of, we build this as a trying to answer questions. So are there any questions that anyone's got? I know that we've got a few others, people who are happy to share some experiences, Paul and Andy, but are there any other questions that we can try to get our experts to answer?
What about in the COVID world? I mean, how do you handle Legos when people are so careful?
Yeah, so what about for you, Loretta? I mean, your work is very definitely face-to-face, not online. How do you handle brick hygiene with sort of face-to-face workshops?
So the Sunrise Senior Living 10 days ago, that was in person. And so that was, so I had read somewhere on one of the LSP sites, I think, to put the Legos in a bag to disinfect them. So that's what I've been doing, and just cleaning them that way. But for the folks in the event who were able to use the regular LSP kits, I just left them sealed, and we did that. Everybody sat at very socially distanced tables, so they had it all set up, you know, before I got there, and cleaning stations, and then we sanitized them all again before I came home. So
interesting.
This worked really well.
I ran our first face-to-face training about a month ago, and people were a little bit nervous for the first hour or so. But actually, after an hour had gone, we were just all kind of in the old mode. Everyone had been double vaccinated. We had sort of, you know, before every break, people washed their hands. But the concerns that I expected kind of weren't there. There was just definitely a bit of extra sort of hand hygiene, but people weren't stressed out about touching each other's bricks. Let's have a quick look. Andy Clegg, are you here, Andy? Maybe not. In which case, let me pass over to Paul Kelly, the very lovely Paul. You've got
Hi,
some...
Sean, I am here. Sorry, I don't know whether you can hear me or not.
Oh, there you are, Andy. Would you like to share a couple of your experiences?
Yeah, I think you made the point about being faced with a lot of cynicism when you walk into a room with Lego, and I certainly had that to start with. It's a bit of a giggle, but I think when staff see it in action, it's so transformative, and I've used it a lot. I used to teach tourism and event management, and customer service. So to actually do a session of how do you define strategy using Lego, it was great. And that was at a time when I was kind of like just very rudimentary sessions. And then I went and did my Lego training, and that really transformed it. And, you know, to use the real-time strategy and just to structure it. And so I've gone from teaching students, if you like, all the way through now to professional services staffs at the university. I did a session here before lockdown with our professional services teams in a hotel, with lots of Lego. And the head of department was a bit cynical at the start. She didn't see the value of it, but by the end of the day, I think she'd been converted. So it's really powerful. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what it is, but the transferability of some of the, you know, we're doing some learning design workshops at the moment, and we want to use Lego in that. But even just the case of giving people Lego bricks to help vote on things is a great way of generating some discussion. Well, where'd you get that from, Andy? It's like, oh, that's the Lego serious play, you know. But when you tell people that you're trained up to, they look at you and go, what? But then they see the value of it, and that's why we're here, because it is so transformative.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most of us that have used it or been trained have sort of had experiences like that. For any of you who haven't been trained or haven't used it before, it's worth noting that Lego Serious Play is an open source method. You do not need to be trained by Lego to be able to use it. In fact, I'll put into the chat window a link to the open source guide. In 2010, Lego released Lego Serious Play as an open source method. If you haven't come across that, it's worth reading. It's also worth me sort of saying, as we get to the end of our first half hour, there's a wonderful community called LSP Connect. And they have a free event next week. It's on the 27th. So if you want to go to an event to meet some other Lego Serious Play facilitators and hear some more stories, next Thursday between 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock UK time, there's an LSP Connect event. LSP Connect have also produced some wonderful free magazines with all sorts of different stories in. So you could, there are 2 free resources for you. If any of you want a copy of any of the books that we've written, just ping me an email or message me and I'll happily send you a free PDF. So if any of you haven't come across those, I'm more than happy to send you a PDF. And if any of you want to follow further on-air events, do connect with our LinkedIn page. We're planning on doing kind of more on-air events. We're just about at the end of our half an hour. We schedule these as sort of short, sharp half an hours with 15 minutes optional networking afterwards. Are there any other kind of questions that anyone would like to ask before we draw the first part of our session to a close? I was conscious, Marwan, we didn't come back to you. You had your hand up earlier. Did you have a further question?
Yes, I was just wondering about the timing for school students, the shortest and the longest they could bear.
Good
I
question.
mean, with adults, you could do a full day. With young ones, I don't think 4 hours would be too much, or should it be even shorter, or how would it be?
Yeah, so maybe Liam, could you tell us about your sort of duration, your sessions, how long they typically are with young people?
Yeah, sure. I mean, with kind of pre-teens, middle school students, we've run sessions that are 90 minutes, 3-hour sessions. They've gone really well, as long as there's lots of gaps and kind of breakout times planned into them. But similarly, we've also the kind of bricks as metaphor kind of micro task. We've run that really successfully as a kind of 5-minute introduction or 10-15-minute introduction to a topic. That's been really, really, that's one of the most successful things we've done with students. kind of using that bridge as metaphor exercise, but actually tailoring it to a topic or concept that you want to explore, and then get the students to kind of model their, individual ideas based to key elements of the concept you want to discuss. So yeah, I think, like Sean was saying earlier, that open source document, it kind of says what Lego Serious Play isn't, and it says it isn't a micro session. I think when you're working in education, I think you hack it to suit your needs, because you're not going to get 3 hours with kids on a regular basis. So I think you have to be willing and happy to hack it. And I think whatever little strategies you can pull from it and use effectively, I think are really relevant and great.
And do you have the teachers with you on the session, or you can, discipline wise, do you need to have teachers with you, or you just run it like we do with adults?
So I am a teacher, and I'll run it with my classes as an individual teacher. We have run workshops with multiple kind of teacher facilitators in them as well. But as I said earlier, I think as long as you're norming behaviors you want the students to kind of exhibit during a kind of workshop or a session, I think you can do it with one person, in our experience anyway.
Thank you so much.
The hacking sort of is a wonderful last sentiment. I think Lego Serious Play as an open source method is there to be hacked. It's there to be taken and remixed and reinvented and done new things with, and the space is wide open. So I would encourage all of you who already use it to further hack it, and any of you who are not new to it, download the open source guide and have a play. I'm going to draw the first part of our session to a close. I want to thank particularly Liam and particularly Marina, who sort of agreed to be kind of informal speakers at this event. But I also want to thank all of you who have either asked a question or added an additional contribution. These short, sharp half-hour lunch sessions are just a quick way of sort of getting a little bit of inspiration. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to randomly assign 4 breakout groups. So if you want to just do a little bit more networking in smaller groups and talk a bit more, join a breakout. I will close the breakouts in 13 minutes time, and we will bring our on-air event to a close. So feel free to dash off if you've got other things to do for your day. If you want to hang around a bit more and do a bit more networking, I've randomly assigned you to a bunch of different breakout rooms. So feel free to join a breakout and have a conversation in a slightly smaller group. And for those who are still here, I'll see you back here in 13 minutes time. Thanks so much, particularly to our speakers. You're more than happy to stay with me here, May, if you want to, or you can join a breakout. Are you? Great.